I want to tell you about Tommy Schultz. Tommy lived down the street from me on Bonnet Avenue in Tonawanda, New York. Tommy was 12, and I was 9. We would ride the school bus together, well, not actually together. Tommy sat in the back with the other troublemakers, and I sat up front basking in the safety and security of the driver. But each day, Tommy would make sure to board the bus after me, and on his way past, he would punch me in the arm and call me a dirty Jew. On the ride home, it was the same thing. Arm punch, dirty Jew. My mother called the school. My father spoke to Tommy's father. You can all guess what became of that. Nothing helped. My parents drove me to school and back the rest of the year, or in good weather I walked. Tommy and his family moved to Florida that summer. Problem solved, at least for me, but the problem has never really gone away. Since the end of World War II, Jews, especially in the United States, have experienced a prolonged period of acceptance. As Jews in this country, our lives have been, for the most part, blessed. Our liberties have rarely been threatened, and we have achieved and experienced a notable measure of success and status in American society. But we know too well that such success is no guarantee of protection against, and sometimes invites, forces of scapegoating and hate. Sadly, we have learned, especially over the past few years, that anti-Semitism never completely disappeared, and Tommy's family was not alone in their simmering hatred of Jews. We are seeing more and more of it, and after waiting 45 years, Tommy, wherever he is, can finally express his feelings in public and find a community of like-minded peers. You know it, and I know it. But it's not just about an incident here or an incident there, as I have come to understand that these hateful acts are a symptom of something deeper. In her book, How to Fight Anti-Semitism, Times columnist Bari Weiss offers this thesis. Because anti-Semitism is the ultimate conspiracy theory, she says, when anti-Semitism thrives, it is a sign that society has replaced truth with lies. Whenever a society becomes anti-Semitic, it is a sign that something is wrong in their body politic. Think about it. To the anti-Semitic country club capitalist, Jews are inciting the mob. But to the anti-Semitic leftist, Jews oppress the common person by controlling all the capital. To today's white supremacists, who are going to be marching very soon in our nation's capital, Jews are seen as traitors to the white race. That's why Weiss argues that anti-Semitism is not a solid idea or a singular theory, but a shape-shifting worldview that slithers away just as you think you have it pinned down. And how has American Jewish community responded? Well, first, many Jewish organizations have taken steps to try to increase the physical security of buildings and campuses. These are pragmatic and worthy attempts at problem solving, and yet this past summer, just steps away from the front door of an Orthodox Jewish day school in Brighton that I know very well, in full daylight, Rabbi Shlomo Noginsky was stabbed 8 times in the arm by an attacker carrying a fake gun, but a real knife. Fortress mentality has never been an effective or lasting solution. Second, many of us have responded when needed to call anti-Semitism out, whether it comes from the right or from the left. We know from history that anti-Semitism is not a partisan issue. It is neither left-handed nor right-handed, and it can, at the same time, be both. We also know from the Jewish experience that we cannot depend on anyone to take care of us, to advocate for us. Third, we try to rationalize it. We try to say, it's not so bad. We make excuses for those who perpetrate anti-Semitism. A 4th grader is too young to understand that a swastika is a symbol of hate. Or, they are our neighbors and friends. Surely they didn't mean to say that. Or maybe it's us. Maybe we Jews maintain those old stereotypes. Thus, anti-Semitism is really our fault. Allow me to share some ideas, some of which may surprise you. These ideas do not ask us to behave as we have in the past, trying to beat anti-Semitism with respectful protests. Like the act of teshuvah, or returning, that we engage in tonight and tomorrow, these ideas ask us to first assess and then reorient our posture. I suggest that we fight anti-Semitism best by waging an affirmative battle for who we are as Jews, for our values, for our ideas, for our ancestors, for our families, for our communities, for the generations that will come after us. Let me share 3 possibilities for you to consider as we move into 5782. First, do not make anti-Semitism a Jewish issue. In January 2021, the Globe published an op-ed by Mark Baker of CJP, Jeremy Burton of the JCRC, and Robert Tresson of the ADL, called "Anti-Semitism is Not a Jewish Problem." These are 3 of Boston's most influential Jewish organizational leaders. They wrote about anti-Semitism the following: "What is happening in America right now is not just a crisis for Jews. It is a crisis for the nation as a whole. It is an assault on the very thing that makes us all Americans. For the Jews of America, this is yet another moment in which our country is not living up to its promise. It is a moment that requires leadership and support. An American problem requires all of us, all Americans, to be part of the solution." We all know the well-known story. In 1993, the residents of Billings, Montana, rejected hatred by taping pictures of Hanukkah menorahs to their exterior windows during the Hanukkah lighting. Imagine if our neighbors put signs on their lawns that say, "Hate has no place here." Let them stand shoulder to shoulder with us as human beings, as Americans. That is why it gives me great pride, through my work as a member of the Massachusetts Corps of Fire Chaplains, to interact with Christian clergy colleagues. They are my colleagues and they are my friends. Their presence in my life reminds me that we do not stand alone. And as we ask others to stand with us, let us recommit to standing with all those who are feeling marginalized: people of color, the LGBTQ+ community, immigrant communities, those who feel that the American dream has left them on the sidelines. Rabbi Jonathan Sacks of blessed memory said, Non-Jews respect Jews who respect Judaism, and they are embarrassed by Jews who are embarrassed by Judaism. Invite your neighbors into your sukkah. For Hanukkah, let them spin the dreidel with you, to join at your Seder table for Shabbat dinner. And beyond teaching our non-Jewish neighbors about Judaism, let us call on them to stand up whenever they see or hear racism, bigotry, hatred, or anti-Semitism. This is how we can restore America. This is how we can restore the sacred ideals of liberty and justice for all. This is how we make anti-Semitism not just a Jewish issue. Second, lean into Judaism. Last month, Michael Mail wrote in Jewish Philanthropy, "You want to fight anti-Semitism? Save Jewish heritage." Mail suggests that the best way to combat anti-Semitism is by way of education, specifically Jewish culture. He maintains that learning about Jewish heritage on the local level, in places where Jews had once lived, exploring their synagogues, organizations, Jewish institutions, is highly effective in, quote, projecting the Jewish experience and Jewish cultural influence in the form of soft power, end quote. In short, we lean into Judaism by turning to the beauty of our religion and by returning to our rituals, traditions, and heritage worldwide. We have artifacts of Judaism throughout the world. We need only open our eyes. It is not difficult. As our Torah portion tomorrow morning, Nitzavim, reminds us, "For this commandment which I command you this day is not concealed from you, nor is it far away. It is not beyond the sea. It is not in the heaven. Rather, this thing is very close to you. It is in your mouth and in your heart, so that you can fulfill it." So how do we access Judaism? How do we fulfill our historic mission as a people? Maybe it's resolving to have Shabbat dinner more often, or redefining Shabbat as a tech-free day. Maybe it's binge-watching Shtisel, Surgim, or subscribing to the podcast, Judaism Unbound. Maybe it's reading the poetry of Yehuda Amichai or novels by Malamud or Singer. Maybe it's signing up for the next round of our adult education program here at Congregation B'nai Shalom. Maybe it's giving a gift to an organization you admire or volunteering for one of our community's social action projects. And regardless about how you feel about the current state of politics in Israel, maybe it's booking your next trip or your first. These are ways that we lean into Judaism. And here is my third and final suggestion, appropriate for this night of Kol Nidre. Let us pay attention to our souls, to our inner lives. Let us avoid becoming hateful ourselves. We have observed over the past year that when confronted with hate, it is very easy to become hateful. We must say to others, what you have done has crossed a moral and ethical boundary. We must declare that certain groups, because they are founded on hate, are illegitimate. But how we, as religious people and spiritual beings, choose to respond should come from a place of compassion, even love. If you are a parent, the cultivation of your own soul may not seem like an obvious way to combat anti-Semitism, but it is one of the most powerful weapons. When we raise the next generation of educated, proud, and enthusiastic Jews, we ensure that our legacy continues. As Dr. Deborah Littstadt teaches, the joy rather than the oi of Judaism becomes the prism through which our children refract their view of the Jewish past, present, and future. If we don't do this, we run the risk of anti-Semitism becoming the drummer to which the Jewish identity of our youth marches. Instead, we need to help our children see the rich and multifaceted legacy that we share, which will allow our children not to see themselves as perennial victims. If we fail to do this, we cede to the oppressor control over our destiny, which leaves many Jews aware of what to be against, but not what to be for. American revolutionary Thomas Paine wrote, "We have the power to begin the world again." The day of Yom Kippur gives us the power to begin the world again. It will not be perfect. It will not be a world in which racism, anti-Semitism, gratuitous hatred, will magically vanish like smoke. But we will have the power and the vision to build a world that is great. And we have the tools to build a world that is better than the one we inherited. The time is now. My friends, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. taught, we must combine the toughness of the serpent and the softness of the dove, a tough mind and a tender heart. As we confront this scourge of hatred, let us be tough and tender. Let us dispel darkness with light. Let the sound of the shofar inspire us to seek justice while balancing it with compassion. And finally, as the psalmist declared, Olam chesed yibaneh. Let us meet the forces of hate with the power of love. Ken yehi ratzon. May it be God's will. Amen.
Olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, dai, 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 dai. Olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. Olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, dai, 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 dai. I will build this world from love. Yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. And you must build this world from love. Yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. And if we build this world from love, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai, then God will build this world from love. Yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. Olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, dai, 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 dai. Olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai.
We now return to our prayer books.